Hello everyone, I am Tacet and welcome to the Gems of War stream. So today, of course, we have ourselves a Vault event on Friday the 13th of all times. But yeah, we have a Vault event for the next 3 days, so the rest of today and then all of this weekend until Monday reset. Absolutely fantastic time to be trying to go and grind out pretty much anything. Particularly explore and the new feature of challenges, or not really a new feature, but you know, the revamped changes that they ended up doing to challenges themselves. So yeah, that's actually what we're going to be doing for a good majority of this stream. The main reason we're going to be going up to the completion of tier 5 challenges is because the tier 5 challenge has, oddly enough, the best reward of any of the challenges, all the way up to 10. The main reason being is that it gives 7 gem keys, and I believe 3 event keys is the second half of it. And, you know, for completing all 7, because each of them have a 7 completion reward when you finish out a whole tier. And, yeah, ends up giving a lot of loot, and that's the best area for it. Since 7 gem keys and 3 event keys is around 100 gem value or so. So, pretty good, decent value there, and we'd be able to get gnomes pretty quickly while doing so. So that is pretty much the game plan. So I guess we'll just start from one corner and just start, like, moving around the map. Not sure if we'll be able to get literally all of it done right now, because that seems like it will take a while to get that far in them. But we'll be leveling up War Priest, leveling up Corsair. I do want to get Corsair to level 100 this weekend, ideally. And also want to get War Priest to at least 50, though ideally more so to 100. We'll see how it goes and go from there. So let's just start getting into them and destroy everything. Unfortunately, we will not be able to use Rowain the entire time. That'd be very nice if we could, but we cannot. Actually, I believe it stops failing after the second tier of challenges. So maybe we'll go do every single kingdom to tier 2 first, and then go from there on to tier 3. The biggest issue with tier 3, or tier 3, 4, and 5, while they'll still be quick, they will technically be slower than Explore. So I'm not actually 100% certain if I will be doing them. It would still make sense to do it now, because if we're going to ever do them, it makes the most sense to do them during an event like this. But it will technically be slightly slower than Explore, but we'll be getting other loot while doing so. I keep forgetting. With a controller, for whatever reason, it doesn't default to the next challenge, which seems really weird. You have to actually specifically click on it, even though there's only one option now. It made more sense when there was a bunch of different options that it would do that, but it makes absolutely no sense that it does not now that there's only one option every time. And that is whatever the next battle is. I guess theoretically you can do them out of order, can't you? I've never actually tried clicking that way, but I guess you technically can. Even though that would be kind of pointless, and no one would really ever bother doing that. But, let me see. Can you actually do them out of order? Yeah, I guess you can. That's weird. Yeah, I guess you can do it in any order you want. Not sure why you just wouldn't go down the path, though. And as you can see, 2 gnomes are ready. Wow. Come on, Vault Keys. Oh, also, we started at 49 Vault Keys. And I guess we'll hand out a redeem code at the first Vault Key. Not sure how long that takes, but it's gonna be anywhere from like 5 minutes to 5 hours. No, just kidding. Better not take 5 hours. Normally, on average, it takes about an hour and a half per Vault Key if you're doing Explore and similar things to this. Okay, so I believe these stats are too high to one-shot anymore, unless we had like a double damage source. So we are just going to do the first challenge set for every single kingdom then for now. And then probably switch over to Key Team. Because the only problem with that is Key Team will be decently slower than, I don't know, maybe we go all the way with it. Because it seems a little bit weird to constantly keep jumping from kingdom to kingdom. I don't know, a Key Team isn't too much slower, but it's definitely noticeably slower. In that it doesn't have an instant full mana, nor does it have a instant kill. Like, it probably takes twice the amount of time, meaning we're theoretically getting half the amount of gnomes. I'm trying to think of something else, because Key Team does have a little bit too much damage for what we're currently doing right now. Like, we are way over hitting these enemies. Problem is, there isn't really quite an in-between that uses hero on it. There's an in-between, but it drops hero. Like using Sunbird plus Rowain combo is a great in-between option. But the biggest issue with that is the proper quick team for it cannot fit hero on it, which would defeat the point in farming hero class in the first place. Because we're simultaneously farming 3 things: the challenges, the hero class, and the gnome event. Also, hello everyone! Hope all of you have been having a good day so far. Also, has anyone gotten lucky with the Vault event yet? Any good Vault keys yet? Major blues, anything else? Hello Isabel, hello Mystic, hello Matt, hello Toya, hello Haley, hello Zippleman. Why challenges? Because we have to do them eventually anyways. So we might as well do them during a gnome event where we get more loot for them. Or, you know, theoretically more loot for them. You used Explorer team for tier 1 and 2 challenges and key team for 3 to 5. Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. I think I did a video on it at one point, didn't I? I know I mentioned it on stream before. But yeah, I use Explore team for 1 to 2. The Explore team up to about 6, I believe it is. And then the rest of the time I just use Truffle. Though key would last all the way to the point that we're trying to do it up to. I know that for sure. Which is of course the completion of 5. I believe it works for 6 as well. We tested it when it first came out. Was the Vault team buffed? I'm not sure. I actually haven't done a Vault this patch. Or people mentioned that, so it might have been. But I've honestly have not done a single Vault this patch because I've been hoarding my Vault keys, so I have no clue if it has or hasn't. Well, I know Firebomb plus Rowain should be able to one-shot it in late game. So if that doesn't one-shot it anymore, then it definitely has been nerfed. Or, you know, the stats were buffed. If it's not that noticeable, it couldn't have been that big of a buff, though. Like, if there's a really obvious buff to it, then the stats would be way higher. Yeah, we have a Suncrest hero class next week, though unless they're rebalancing its final trait, it is actually really useless. Its typing isn't that bad, but it's not going to be used for much. Because its traits and everything are horrible. And its trees aren't the best. But it might still have some purpose. Hello, Zeddicus! Yes, happy Vault weekends. Hello, Chris Border. And Corn. And Earthbound. And Supplement. Yeah, I will be throwing quite a bit of gems at the next hero class. It's a complete waste of gems, but I believe it does gain a +1 link off of its 7th perk, or you know, it's level 70 perk, I mean. It's Sunspear, but for Yellowstorm? Interesting. That could have potential. Trying to think of what that would have the best synergy with. Well, obviously Taloka from its own kingdom. But I mean like outside of its kingdom. Actually, maybe within the kingdom. What colors does the Strix or the Sunspear, or not the Sunspear, the Strix or the Suncrest weapon give? Does it create yellow? I actually did not recall. I believe it did. I think it was like yellow blue or yellow green or something. But any Perpetual Storm is going to be pretty decent. So I guess that hero class will be solid then. It's kind of weird. The only mythic that has it is what's her name? Skady. There isn't any other mythic that specifically has it. Lately, this has been giving it to hero classes, which is kind of interesting. Because we only have 3 so far. Well, we're about to have the 3rd next Friday. And 2 of them are on hero classes, whereas 1 of them's on a mythic. They'll probably split it half and half, I would assume. %50 mana starts are kind of the same way, except inversely, where more of them are on troops rather than on hero. It's kind of weird how that pans out, though. Because in the case of 50% starts, they're considered more so like a legendary trait. Yet, something like a Storm perpetually is considered like a mythic trait. Yet both of them are still given to hero classes. Which is yet another discrepancy with hero classes. There's so much imbalance between them. They mentioned that they will be like rebalancing them eventually with a patch. They mentioned that last Q&A. When we're eventually going to get that is who knows when. But it is something that they are planning on doing eventually, rebalancing hero classes. Which reminds me, I'm still curious what on earth the 5 new hero classes are for Puzzle Quest HD Remake. It's coming out next Thursday. I'm like trying to think of like what on earth would they even do for those? Like which one specifically? I'm also curious if whatever those hero classes are will come to Gems of War eventually. Because for any of you that don't know, like half the hero classes in the game like originated in like Puzzle Quest 1 or 2. As far as like what they're named or what their typing is. Can you get diamonds from Nome Keys? Yes. There's a 50 diamond drop off of Cedric, and there's a 2 and 5 diamond drop off of the normal gnomes. The what are the normal gnomes called? Treasure gnomes. Yeah, there's 3 different drops you can get. 2 and 5 off the normal ones, the normal 3 that are in there, and 50 off the Cedric. No clue what the exact drop rates are, but that's what they can drop. It's not a ridiculously huge amount of diamonds, but it is still diamonds nonetheless. As far as the value of a diamond, I'd probably say the current value of a diamond is probably half a gem. So like every 2 diamonds is worth about 1 gem. Approximately, give or take. Hard to really pin down a value to them. They technically have a gem convert value, but it's completely RNG based, so it's kind of hard to determine what their actual value is. But somewhere from like a half a gem to a gem each is the value of a diamond. Because their value comes from the fact that it saves you from having to use keys to go get a mythic. And a mythic can take a absurd amount of gem key value, or just key value in general, as far as the actual gem amount that it would cost. Doesn't Life Tree have cleanse though? There's actually still no absurdly good hero class that has cleanse. There's some pretty good ones like priest and stuff, but we still don't have an extremely broken hero class with cleanse yet. Also, what on earth is this loading screen? Oh yeah, I will be streaming the Puzzle Quest HD remake a lot. I'm like ultra hyped for it. It's coming out next Thursday. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but that's not really gonna matter. There's no pre-order benefit to the game. I might pre-order it like the day before. I normally don't, just in case they have like a flash sale or something. Who knows, like 10%. Highly doubt they will be. But yeah, it's only 15 bucks, so not really that much at all. Definitely worth it for an HD remake. A lot of HD remakes lately have been like pretty expensive. This one's relatively cheap for how much content and everything that they're adding. So the game originally, like on Steam and stuff, is only like $10 anyway, so not much of an increase. I guess technically they did increase, but it's already so cheap that it doesn't matter much. Has quite a bit of a content too for how cheap of a game it is. Like a playthrough is at least like 20+ hours, even more so if you're going like full-blown completionist with it. I'll grab that. Also, it'll look a lot more noticeable compared to Puzzle Quest 2. For any of you that caught the Puzzle Quest 2 stream, you'll notice Puzzle Quest 1 looks a lot more like Gems of War compared to Puzzle Quest 2. It actually has like literal kingdoms as well that you get tribute from. It's actually where they got the inspiration of the kingdom tribute thingy from. Also, it's kind of funny because the interface that they used kind of looks like Gems of War interface for the HD remake. They kind of like made it look like Gems of War interface. Not exactly, but like the same premise of changes that they made to the Gems of War interface, they end up making to the Puzzle Quest HD remake. I find kind of funny. You buy eShop cash on your Switch account for pre-orders, offer discount and gift cards. Oh yeah, that would make sense. That reminds me, that's something discounted I still have that I haven't really used yet. I still have 3 of those Switch buy game options. Like when they ended up having that online membership discount thingy, it was like $47.50 per game, $47.50 for digital copies. I still have like 3 redeems for that. One of them I'm saving for Pokemon. One of them I'm probably saving for Animal Crossing next year. I believe that's in March. I'm not sure what I'm using the 3rd one for. I just kind of assumed they would have a random game drop at some point within the year in which I could use it on. Because not too many other things are out right now that I would really want to get, I don't think, on Switch. Aquaticus is over, so we can open more keys now. Yes, Aquaticus is over. It's now normal drop table. If you try opening Glory Gem Guild or VIP chest right now, you'll still get mythics, but it could be any mythic in the game. You could theoretically still get Aquaticus, though the chance that you specifically get Aquaticus now is much, much lower than it was last week. If you want to get Aquaticus at this point, really the only way to do so is through Soulforge with 4,000 diamonds when it eventually pops up again. Or for the first time, I should say. Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 I'll probably be playing at like friends' houses and stuff. But I don't think I'm going to bother getting it for myself. I did really like the original. The second one didn't really appeal to me though. And the third I'm kind of iffy on. I just don't feel like it's going to have enough content to justify getting it. It seems like a game you'll play for like 30 hours tops and then never play it again. Or very rarely just with friends. Let's see, we'll grab that. Get key down. Go grab a red there. And I do play some games that are like that. I just don't feel like it has enough of a storyline to justify getting it just for its storyline. Because obviously something like Ori, which I might still be getting and playing on the channel, because I still haven't tried it. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Something like that obviously has very little replay value, but it has such a good story and just everything that it's ends up being worth it. Yeah, my biggest concern with Animal Crossing might be that it doesn't have enough content. I've actually only ever played the very first Animal Crossing. Or at least the very first American localized Animal Crossing, which was the one that was released on GameCube. I think there was theoretically one prior to that. Oops, I just completed up to tier 6. I did not mean to do that. Whoops. I was supposed to only be completing up to tier 5. Oh well. Well, we got a little bit further on that one. I guess that is a beneficial fail. Grab all that. Okay, it is 3 event keys. I thought it was. I was like slightly skeptical because I kind of forgot on if it was 100% or not. But yeah, it is definitely 3 event keys for the tier 5 completion. You're doing up to the triple tasks? Yes, doing up to some point in the task is definitely highly advised. I never did cover a little video on it. I might need to do that later today. Though we're doing it right now, so... But yeah, it is highly advised to be doing challenges right now. This is the first Gnome event since the new challenges have come out. And if there was any point to do them, now would be the time during a Gnome event weekend, because Gnomes do appear in challenges at the same rate as everywhere else. And the first 2 you can quick kill very easily. And the other 3 up to tier 5, they're a little bit slower than Explorer, but they're still worth it for the loot. You'd be doing them eventually anyway, so might as well be doing them underneath more loot. Any deeds today? Yes, I believe it was 4 fire deeds. It's red. It's like 4 or 5. It's the epic one. I think it gives 4. It was 4 or 5. I actually completely forget now. It's one of the 2 numbers. It's not too many. Not enough to make Mrs. Scales go to 14 star. Or Dragon's Claw if you're doing that one instead. I almost feel like I should have done Dragon's Claw instead. But once we get the faction bonus, it'll, or you know, the faction bonus for the Mrs. Scales one is gonna be beneficial. Like when we're doing that Tuesday event, we'll actually be, I'll probably say like, okay, good thing we went for Mrs. Scales because we'll have the extra stats for it. But I don't know, I feel like the Dragon's Claw, even though you would only use it for its team bonus, it's a pretty good team bonus. Because if you're ever bothering to use a dragon team, you're almost guaranteed using multiple Dragon's Claw troops, if not the entire kingdom. I'm really curious to see what the next mythic will be for that kingdom. We could finally make dragons meta again. If we get another good dragon mythic and 50% dragon start, dragons will be pretty solid. And I don't know why they don't just finally do 50% dragon start eventually, because Submerge is gonna always hard counter dragons. Doesn't matter if you give them 100% mana. Submerge will counter them. Obviously, you wouldn't give them that much, but you know. You're saving all your deeds for the weekend faction events? Yeah, that makes sense. Though we will preemptively know what color each following faction will end up being ahead of time. Because we can tell what kingdom it is. For example, I can tell you right now what the next faction is going to be. 1 second. The next faction is going to be... Oh, this is the wrong page for it. 1 second. Wait, where is the page for it? Why do I always forget where this page is? Kingdom spoilers. What kingdom are you associated to? Why does it not say on this page what kingdom it's associated to? Divinian Fields. We know that next one is Divinian Fields, which I believe is yellow. They could be using yellow for it. We haven't gotten any yellow deeds yet. And the one after that is Glacial Peaks, which I believe is blue. That means you'd want to be saving yellow and blue if you're saving them specifically for new factions. Pretty sure that's the Kingdom of Divinian Fields. I'm almost like 100% certain Divinian Fields is yellow. It's either yellow, purple, or green. I'm pretty sure it's yellow. The next one's Divinian Fields, and the one after that's Glacial Peak. And I'm pretty sure that's yellow and then blue. Let's see. You're yellow, right? Did I check that? Yeah, that's correct. Yellow and blue. There's no way Glacial Peaks is not blue. Yep, yellow and blue. So technically, if you want to go and save your deeds for the following kingdoms, you'd want to save your yellows for Divinian Fields, and you'd want to save your blue for Glacial Peaks, as those are the next two factions that are going to be introduced into the game. Actually, that seems tempting. What am I currently using my yellows for? Oh, I'm using my yellows for Pan's Veil at the moment, though. But I haven't really had a yellow event, so I've only used 2 on it so far. My blues have been going to Glacial, or to a Merlantis, which I think I'll still keep doing, because I really want that bonus of the 4 times thingy. At that point, I might as well just go for the extra life. That's the only problem between switching between them, though, is the extra stat that you get on kingdoms will get delayed. And those stats are one of the most important things that you would even get out of a kingdom upgrade. So you have to farm pretty far to go get to tier 4 for the faction. Or the level 14, I mean, to get to 50%. Getting to level 12 for the 25% is not that bad. You need a lot of deeds to reach 14 from 10. But you might as well just max out the kingdom at that point with how many it costs. You see, how much actually is it? It costs, yeah, it costs 20 of the color in order to do it. Oh, you don't get that many of them. Like right here, we just get 4 off an epic. Legend, I believe, was like 6 or 8, and the mythic was around 8 to 10. Get their exact numbers, other than the fact that this is indeed 4, as we can see by the fact that there is 4 there. But they'll come in over time. I'm pretty sure it's going to take longer than a year to... oh, that was weird, a double loading screen. But pretty sure it's going to take longer than a year for them to all roll around. They said that it would take about a year to upgrade all the kingdoms. But I'm pretty sure it'll take longer than that. Also, we still haven't had a flash offer related to them yet. Wonder if we ever will. Well, we definitely will. They mentioned it. We just haven't had one yet. Also, thank you, Key Lime. Welcome. What's the best way to find gnomes and farm trophies for your guild? Arena or PvP? Arena. Arena has a higher rate of trophies, and for most people it also has a quicker win rate. It's because quite a few PvP teams can take quite a while. To a point that you just avoid them whenever you see them, or you take forever to try to do them. Because there's quite a few PvP teams that can take upwards of 2 minutes. Which is very slow for trying to win quickly. Even what we're doing now is actually somewhat slow for trying to win quickly. We're winning about once every 30 seconds or so, which is very slow for trying to win as quickly as possible. Because that can go around 15 seconds per battle, whereas this is taking about double that amount of time, which relative is pretty slow. But we're going to need to do these eventually. And using a Rowan or Sunbird team isn't quick enough. You can use both together, and I believe it lasts until about tier 4. The problem with that is, including tier 4 itself. The problem with that is that you just can't use hero on it to defeat the point in doing this for the most part. Because one of the main things we're farming is the 2 XP per battle for our hero class. And these do give 2 XP per battle, which is pretty relevant. Because that's a lot of free XP. Do you ever think we'll have more deeds than we need? Yes and no. Yes, we will, but they are almost guaranteed expanding kingdom levels to 20. They just started it to 15 for now. But there is like a almost 99% chance that they are expanding deeds to level 20. They even made mention of it on the last Q&A. Yeah, they're not stopping at 15, though they're probably going to stop at 20. But there's a good chance that level 16 to 20 will require deeds to some degree, possibly even some other new resource. But definitely deeds and gold. Well, at the current rate that the system is set up, it looks like in about 2 years, we'd have more deeds than we'd currently need in the current system. But they'd likely expand out the system before that happens. Am I going to complete all the kingdoms to tier 5? Yes and no. Yes, that is the game plan this weekend. No, it might not all be happening this stream, because the amount of time that would take is going to be a while. That's definitely not a quick thing to do. Well, the battles go quick. That is a lot of time to get all that completed. It takes around upwards of, probably upwards of 40 hours to complete all challenges. Upwards of 30 to 40 hours. Could be even more than that to complete all challenges, which is quite a substantial amount of time. And of course, the later ones take even longer. So I'm not doing the later ones at the moment. I'm just doing up to tier 6. Or up to, I keep doing tier 6 itself as well. I mean to only be doing up to tier 5 though, including tier 5's completion. But after we get the keys, we should ditch it afterwards. After we get the 3 event keys. After we finish out the one that has 7 gem keys in a row. Hello, Mehmet. Welcome. For Delves, is Iron Gut still king? Yes, Iron Gut is still the best thing in the entire game for Delves. That is not changing anytime soon. It is very unlikely they're adding something better than Iron Gut anytime soon for Delves, because there almost isn't anything that could be better than that. Unless they make like a version of Zugoff that's somehow lower mana cost or something. Or, you know, something that can hit through immune to Devours without needing another troop to do so. It's like the only thing that can make Iron Gut any better. If they made something just as consistent that also had the ability to automatically pierce through immune to Devour without needing a additional troop to do so. But it's not really too big of a liability that he does have that restriction, because there's plenty of troops that have curse these days. Well, maybe not plenty, but enough good ones that it would work. Also, you can also use the transform mechanic to bypass it. The immune to Devour. Also, isn't Iron Gut available this week? I'm pretty sure it's in Soulforge right now. Highly advised to go get it if you don't already have it. Assuming you have the diamonds for it. Yeah, Iron Gut will get you to 2,000 very easily. But doing Pure Faction obviously does not help for Pure Faction. No troop will help you with Pure Faction. The only thing that helps you with Pure Faction is your amount of stats and theoretically your amount of gems. Though your amount of stats is the biggest thing that would end up increasing your chance of winning. Though gems could buy you stats. But just having higher base stats in general would help. Yeah, Pure Factions are still ridiculously hard. They're looking into possibly adding some kind of way to make them easier in the future. But the most recent patch didn't really address that, like, fully. They're still ridiculously hard to do. Especially if you're doing them without any potions whatsoever. Honestly, I think one of the reasons why they might have done it such a small buff to Pure Faction might be because so many people are spending gems on the system that they that they implemented not to be the fix, that it was such a big gem sink that they just kept it as the fix. Because the being able to spend gems on faction events was never supposed to be like the major fix for factions, even though it's used as the major fix for factions. And because so many people throw gems at it, I guess they just decided to kind of keep it as the main way to do it. Because it's probably one of the biggest gem sinks in the entire game, in late game and particularly end game, is level 2,500 factions. Because most factions either require you to get the horde up very, very high, like over 200, in order to complete it, and or getting potions on it, which will cost you around 2,000 plus damage or so to be able to reach that point. Go do Pure Faction. And that's every single month. which sinks more gems than any other event. Technically, class events could also sink more if you look at it as a, do you want to max it completely immediately? But I don't think most people bother doing that compared to that of factions. Because hero classes you can do automatically for free, just with time. Whereas no amount of time makes pure faction easier. I guess theoretically it does because you gain more stats over time because more stats come into the game, but you know what I mean. Like with hero classes, you just need to farm them, whereas you can't just farm a pure faction. You can't just play delves like X amount of times and just get pure faction done. You specifically have to do the level 500 pure faction with really ridiculous stats on the enemy. And while some faction compositions can do that easily, quite a few of them cannot. Like Crypt can do it pretty easily, and anything that has instant kills or similar mechanics. Then there's factions like Sea of Sorrows where they just have like one-shotting true damage. That will just kill almost your entire team in one cast if you don't have enough stats. I wish they would have added deeds to factions. I mean not factions, to challenges. They repeated shards twice, which makes no sense whatsoever. It was suggested during the beta. They didn't do it, though. To add deeds as the 10th task for kingdoms. It would have made a lot of sense, given that they're even associated directly with kingdoms as well, but they didn't end up doing it, unfortunately. Even if it was only 7 deeds and an Imperial, that would still be nice. Like one of each of the colors based on the kingdom, and an Imperial for the 7th one. Really not sure why they didn't do it. I guess they were just concerned I would add too many deeds to the game. But that would only have been enough to like 1/4 every single kingdom. I do not have enough shards, but that's because I haven't been daily farming the delves as much lately. Also, why do I keep... Oh, never mind. I was going to say, why do I keep going to tier 7? But never mind, that's not tier 7. I can't read Roman numerals, apparently. That is a 4. Where we're at right now. Also, why am I still using this team? Whoops, I need to go switch the key. I was wondering why I was playing slower. It's like, oh yeah, I'm using the wrong team. This theoretically still works, just not as good. Though then again, it seems to be winning decently quick this time around. For the fact that we're on tier 4 right now. Have I maybe considered lowering the requirements some? We have. We've also considered joint guilds. Because quite a few people have been asking about joint guilds and stuff like that. But I'm still not sure yet. Yeah, because we still need to fill half the guild. Obviously, there aren't as many people that can do really high requirements compared to lower requirements. It doesn't seem to be affecting too much, though. Other than the fact that we're going to do horrible at Guild Wars, if we still have a small guild. And we don't get as much legendary tasks. But everything else is pretty much normal. Like, there's a good chance we'll still be able to get Tower of Doom fully completed. The very first week we weren't able to get the events done. But I think going forward we should be able to. At 1 million gold is a lot to ask. It's pretty standard for most late game guilds, though. Most of them have multi-million requirements, or if not necessarily requirements, people do the multiple million, even if it's not necessarily required for the guild. What do you take? Yeah, unfortunately, none of it's cross-platform other than PC Mobile. I see that VIP 21 was removed. Well, was this used as a placeholder? Grinding classic XP, you get at least 3 to 4 million gold a week. Where do you do it, in Explore? That's quite a bit of gold for doing it just in Explore, if that is all from Explore. You were in rank 3 on Xbox and it was only 500,000 gold? Interesting. I don't know, I guess I could have a lower gold requirement at some point. I'd still want to get it back to 1 million though. Because the problem when you have it at just 500,000 is there'll be a lot of people that will just do 500,000. And the whole point of 1 million is to make sure that everyone's kind of contributing fairly. For like the people that contribute multi-millions every single week. Yeah, I know on the Switch version, when I was a little bit less active, I found it a little bit hard to keep up with 500,000 requirement, let alone doing a million. But for active players, I don't believe it's too big of an issue more often than not. Because anyone late game or further would easily get 1 million per week if they play just for a few hours a day. Even probably even less than a few hours a day would still do it. Actually, with how overpowered end game tribute is, I think I could almost get that amount of gold just off of tribute if I took it like a ridiculous amount of tribute. Without even farming like anything else other than maybe like dailies. Pretty sure we would get almost 1 million if we just overspammed tribute. Because I think every single one of my tributes now are like several thousand gold. Which is basically like a PvP battle or two. Per tribute. That reminds me, we have like 1 billion gold keys too. I wonder if I'm ever going to go bother opening them. It's like over 1,000 gems is sitting there ready to go. Actually, I think it's over 2,000 gems actually. It's somewhere around every... It comes out to every 100 every 100 gold keys is 1.5 gems. So whatever our number of keys is divided by 100 times 1.5 is how many gems we theoretically have, assuming we get exactly at the drop rate. Which means, let me go check the math on that. Oh, Leona's Empire finally got, I didn't even realize we got level 50. There we go. We finally got the purple star for Leona's Empire. I've been needing to get it, the hero class level 50. Finally got it. And now we wait for the next one. Oh, let me start getting it to level 60. Oh no, we need another pet. Oh, we already got it. Ha! Joke's on you, game. We already got the other level 20. I just haven't leveled it yet. I probably should before I forget. Do we have enough food to do it now? No, not even close. Yeah, we'll wait till we get more green food, I guess. But, or until it comes closer to that point. Yeah, joke's on you, game. We already have it upgraded. because that was City of Thieves for that second pet. So whenever Leonis Empire gets another thing, we'll need to make sure we get level 60 definitely right now. I said I was going to farm to 70. I guess we're farming to 60 for now. But then again, we don't know if Leonis Empire's next event will charge twice. Or, you know, if it's going to give 2 troops. Let me go double check real quick. What's the level 18 requirement for Kingdoms? That's not the right one. Where's the other image I'm looking for? Is this it? That's not it. Where's the image I'm looking for? I know I have it set up because I like referencing it for times like this. Where'd it go? Seriously, where'd it go? That's not it. It disappeared. 1 second. Seriously, where'd it go? Was that it? Found it. Level, yeah, we do need it to get to level 70. Never mind. Okay, still sticking with the normal plan. Because if 2 troops come out for Leonis Empire, we need level 70 hero class. Because then it's going to be 18 stars. Yep, so we do need to go get to level 70 then, for sure. Because there is a possibility when Leonis Empire has another event that it brings in 2 troops, not 1. Regardless, we would need it 60 if it only brought in 1. I don't think we're getting 1 anytime soon, but just in case we are, do need to make sure we have it leveled, just so we don't have to go and have the star level a little bit lower because we didn't have the class leveled, like we did for like almost a week there, because I didn't have it leveled. Let me see, when is next Leonis Empire event? I'm pretty sure it's not with Invisible Sight. But let me go double check the troop spoilers real quick. Nope, no Leonis Empire. It's probably gonna be a while, probably gonna be several months before we see another one. Probably like early next year or something. But do want to have level 70 before then, and might as well get it now. We don't need to later. Wait, this one was only to level 4. Oh, I was just looking at it wrong. Fail. Why did I read that as 6 earlier? It's only 6 if the one is to the right of the the 5. I don't think that's a dyslexia thing, though I do have it. I think it's mostly because of how my glasses are. Because it sometimes like doubles numbers. Or, you know, doubles everything. So it probably looked like the one was towards the right of the 5 or of the V. How can you join my guild? Just give me your invite code. And if you can do the 1 million gold requirement and just be decent at guild-related events, raids, invasions, stuff like that, we'd love to have you. If anyone else is interested in joining, we have like absurdly high amount of space. We're trying to rebuild the guild, so if anyone's interested, definitely let me know. And we still get everything done for the most part. Even though we're currently a smaller guild, we still get all the tasks done. We've still been doing legendary tasks. Not as much, obviously, but still been getting to them and doing them. Still been, for the most part, clearing out events. Like this Tower of Doom, it looks like we'll be able to get it done. Guild Wars will probably be a little bit down, though. At this current moment in time, we are theoretically bracket 2 Guild Wars. So that's obviously going to go down if we don't have a full guild. Because if we're even missing like 5 people by then, we're going to make last place. Because 5 people on Guild Wars is like auto lose. Even 2 people missing in Guild Wars could be auto lose for a bracket. Normally you can survive 1 person missing, but anything more than that is pretty much last place in the upper brackets. Tribute alone is around 160,000 gold per week. That sounds about right. If you're taking it an average amount of time. I forget what my average tribute is. Well, let's see. We make 24,000 gold by default every single day. And then you add the amount that you get from tribute, which is probably an extra 1,000 per tribute, I want to say. So if you combine those two numbers together, let's say we do 10 tributes per day, though you could easily do more than that. Or maybe not easily, but it's theoretically possible to do more than that. I'm pretty sure I've been doing slightly less than that. But it really just depends how much you just check the game. But let's just say 10 per day. That comes out to in late game, or end game I should say. What was that? You'd have to do 24 times 7 times... So I never did the math for the other thing either. But 24 times 7... that's the amount of hours, and times that by 1,000. Yes, that's about 168,000. And that 168,000 gets added to 24,000 per day. Let's see. Oh wait, never mind. They're both the same number? Or did I just do the same thing twice? Hold up. Oh yeah, duh. They would be the same number, wouldn't they? Fail. Yes, 24,000. That's funny. That's pretty funny. I just did the exact same thing twice because I forgot that 24,000 a day is the same as 1,000 per hour. It's funny. Duh. Yeah, they're both actually the same thing. So yeah, it does come out to about 336,000 then. Per week, approximately, give or take a little bit, just off a tribute and nothing alone, at least in end game anyways, assuming you take tribute that much. There are some weeks that probably take it more than that, though on average I think that's what it comes out to. Or it just depends how much I'm around on a given day. Because we're by default getting that per hour. Which that alone comes out to like 170,000 a week or somewhere around there. A little bit less. And then you add tribute to that. Oh, that's not what I want. What's the difference with taking tribute more or less often? The hourly amount of gold that you get remains the same regardless of how often you take it. However, every single hour you can take tributes, and that will roll your tribute chances. And that triggers every single time you take tribute, which can be done at a maximum of once per hour. And that loot does not accumulate if you don't take it every single hour. So if you wait 10 hours, you will not get an increased amount of your tributes. It'll be the exact same if you wait 1 hour or 10 hours. It doesn't make that big of a difference earlier on in the game, but the later into the game you get, the bigger your tribute is. And right now my tribute probably averages slightly above 10 per tribute. Numbers around 10 gems per tribute, among a few other resources, including gold. Also, where was the invite code of the person that was asking earlier? Or did they end up posting it? Let's see, Diego. Diego did not reply back. Let's see. Yeah, oh yeah, I know the new class got changed. We got Yellowstorm, which is gonna be nice. It's not useless now. It went from being like almost dead content to pretty solid. Not the absolute best hero class in the game, but still gonna be decent. It's at least not useless now. Oh, we got a Volkey to go with our gym key. Also, I did say when we get first Volkey, I'd hand out a code. That is first Volkey. Let me hand out a code. I believe it was the one below this. It's our last code from the previous batch. Yep, this is the last code from the previous batch. Luckily, I have another 30, so no need to worry. We got plenty of codes. Got enough codes to go for the rest of the month. Probably a little bit longer than that. Copy. And there you guys go. There is the redeem code. Use it on gemsofwar.com. Read the game code section. Your invite code can be found underneath your settings menu. Whatever your game says right over there. That's what you put in. Redeem code is right over in chat right over there. Just copy paste random numbers and letters. And give same reward as always. 2 treasure maps. Where'd it go? 2 treasure maps, 1 gem key, 200 souls, and 2,500 gold. And there you guys go. And you use it on gemsofwar.com. Or simply click on that link. And that was from the kingdom. Or from the challenges, I should say. Oh, another gnome. Oh, could we get back-to-back vault keys? I have gotten double vault keys before. Like doing a battle, getting a vault key, and then literally doing another battle and getting a vault key back-to-back. Hopefully we get that again. I've never gotten triple like that, but I have gotten double before. Vault key battle right into vault key battle without any delay between the battles. It is almost impossible to do 3 in a row though. You need absurd luck. Ah, 5 gems. Still good loot though. Better than nothing. I almost thought it was a gem key for a second, but it's like, oh yeah, duh, we're doing challenges. But you'd only dropped us 5 gems, which is still good. Theoretically, 5 gems could even be considered better than a gem key. I would normally consider a gem key better though, because a gem key is worth like 9 to 10 gems. I would normally consider it 9 gems. But gem keys, or gems, of course, have more flexibility. Now you could do them with events and stuff like that. A gem key does technically have about double the value of it. It's also why this challenge that we're doing right now is so absurdly good. Each of the 7 gem keys are worth about 9 gems, so that's about 63 gems. And then the 3 event keys, which their value could vary depending on how you value it. But if you value them on their actual cost, they're, what, 13.5 gems each, if I'm not mistaken? That comes out to, wait, are they 13 or 13.5? I'm pretty sure they're 13.5. But for the 13.5, that comes out to what? 40... 40.5, let's just say 40. So that comes out to 103.5 gems then. You could say 103, so you can pretty much just say 100. It's about the gem value of it. Of just challenge 5. Not counting anything else, just challenge 5 alone. And that's per kingdom. And there's 34 kingdoms. That means there is over 3,400 gem value just from doing tier 5 for every kingdom. That's actually a pretty absurdly high gem value, given that they've been kind of a little bit more stingent with like gem value related things lately. Other than vault events. Vault events have still been insanely good for that. I think the average gem value of a vault event is upwards of 100 per hour. If you count vault keys and everything else that you get, and if you count the glory as gem value, because it actually does have gem value. Souls and stuff like that doesn't, but glory does directly have gem value. How much so depends on how you consider it, but if you consider it relative to the value of a gem key, 200 glory keys are basically 1 gem key. Theoretically, even better than 1 gem key. But if you just do that kind of conversion, they are worth about every 20 glory is worth about 1 gem approximately. It doesn't give you 1 gem, but it's about 1 gem value in savings compared to buying keys with gems. What do we take here? I'll take this one. Which theoretically means a 1,000 glory drop off of a gnome is worth about 50 gems. Around 45 to 50, depending on how you calculate it. In gem savings. Which is why the glory gnome is so ridiculously good. What type of changes would you like to see the game to invest in that you're not currently aware of? You mean like things for them to add, to buy, or like things for them to spend a lot of time on to implement? The biggest thing that they theoretically can do that would take forever for them to implement, but I think would be worth it for the game if they're not going to bother making like a whole new game, because they're probably not going to bother. Multiplayer. Like actual multiplayer. That'd be a like year-long update just to get that out. But I feel like it'd be worth it. There's a lot of things that they would have to do to adjust for multiplayer like game mode, both on server side and balance wise. But I feel like it would be a really, really nice thing to have. Even if it's just specifically a game mode that is just that game mode being multiplayer. I just realized I'm doing ingots right now, aren't I? Whoops. I keep doing the, going further than I need to. I'll take that one down. We did not have an extra turn drop. Yes, we did. Never mind. Grab that. Take the red. Get our destroy. Eat a key, and we're good to go. Yeah, it would be great to see maps get an update of some kind. It's something that they're planning on doing to some degree eventually. It keeps getting pushed back. Seems like they've been talking about it for like over a year now. Still haven't done anything. Same as if PvP rework. So they have to be a lot more careful with the PvP rework. If they completely mess up treasure hunt, it won't matter as much. If they completely mess up PvP, that'd be a pretty big issue. Have you ever tried a game with live multiplayer, like Hearthstone? Each match takes 5 to 20 minutes, very slow, lots of waiting. That's why you have time limits on them. I played quite a few multiplayer games where the time wait for turn-based games isn't that bad. You just have to set a time limit that's realistic. I feel like for something like Gems of War, it would be 15 seconds per move to a cap of 60 per turn. Just to make sure you can't like infinitely loop indefinitely. And also just so you would take each turn at some kind of decent pace. Yeah, multiplayer is something excessively unlikely for this game. And if it is, it'll be some kind of mini-game, most likely, or something similar along those lines. Like, it wouldn't be replacing out actual PvP or anything like that. I know, 60 seconds is probably enough for Truffle just to auto-win already. If you click quick enough, Truffle can infinite loop within 60 seconds to just auto-win. That is correct. Well, we'll decide who gets first turn. It would be random. It would just be a 50-50 on who gets it. Though what would be the second turn advantage, something would have to be determined. Though theoretically, second turn does automatically have an advantage already in Gems of War. It's not a mechanic used that often, but there actually is a second turn advantage that is already existent in Gems of War. And that is the fact that trait order is from first player's top left to the second player's bottom right. So trait order always goes in order of first player's first, second, third, and fourth. And then the second turn players first, second, third, and fourth. Meaning that storms of the second player will always overwrite the storms of the first player, as well as a few other interactions that work positively for the second player. So theoretically, Gems of War has a second turn, or, you know, a slight advantage for the second turn player, but it's not that big of one. In the context of actual multiplayer, they would likely need to give, like, a better benefit than that. But there technically already is one within Gems of War, just not that effective. Unless they were to add more traits that also would be applicable with that. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the next faction. I'm just, like, randomly clicking there. Well, let's keep going. Still got a lot to do. There's no way we're doing all of them today, though. I don't even think we're going to do all of them this weekend. But the goal was to work towards them. Start getting them done. Because actually, if you think about it, the amount of gem keys we get from this is pretty much an entire kingdom, isn't it? Or an entire mythic. 7 times... Okay, maybe not exactly. But it's still pretty substantial. There is 238 gem keys that you can get for free. Just from completing out all the challenges from every kingdom up to tier 5, tier 5's completion. And on top of that, you also get a little over 100 event keys. 238 gem keys is pretty solid. Too bad you can only ever do it once. Could you imagine if you could do that every single month? Like a set of challenges that would earn you that many gem keys? That would be absurdly good. Yeah, Mythic RNG is very annoying. I really wish, though I know it wouldn't be applicable to most players, but I really wish there was an option to buy a Mythic for more diamonds on the week that it releases. So instead of having to get a mythic on release by opening keys, I wish they would add a way that you could just use diamonds for it. Obviously it would be more than how it would normally be, but I don't know, I just always wish that was a feature, because there's really nothing for endgame players to use diamonds on, and I know that affects like less than 1% of players. But it's yet another resource in this game that is just pointless once you reach a certain point in the game. And they have been considering like adding sinks into the game. That'd be a perfect sink for diamonds. They'd probably never implement it though, because while it would be a sink for diamonds, it would inversely be a not a sink for keys and slightly not so for gems. Yeah, cumulative chance for mythics would be kind of cool. They already mentioned in the past that they wouldn't implement any kind of mechanic like that, though. It's very unlikely that they ever would. So far, I've managed to get multiple mythics on every single one of my alternate accounts, though. So I don't know if I'm just getting luckier than normal or average, but I had something like almost a dozen mythics on my Nintendo Switch account before we'd even reached level 1000. And it was only like a month or two old at the time. One thing that was mentioned in the past, which they never ended up implementing, they implemented half of it, but not the full thing. What was mentioned in the past was if they could add some kind of resource to keys, every single gem-related key, that gives you crafting material for mythics. They added crafting material into the game, which of course are diamonds and technically those color shard thingies, but though mostly the diamonds. But they never really implemented those to keys. Like something that was suggested a while back that they never did do is basically adding what is diamonds today into like gym keys, event keys, stuff like that. They unfortunately never ended up doing that, which would have been very useful, because while those would still be luck-based as well, it would be a luck-based thing that would be used on a non-luck-based thing. So you could use those diamonds that you accumulate from keys on mythics or on legends if you wanted to get a guarantee of a copy of something you wanted. Of course, it'd be random if you did get those diamonds specifically. However, you'd still be able to use it for something non-random. But it never ended up implementing that, unfortunately. And that was before diamonds ever existed. It wasn't called diamonds when it was mentioned, obviously, but that was basically the premise. So it'd give something that keys could still keep working towards, like mythics that you don't have and stuff. Even if you get really unlucky, over time you'd still be getting some amount of the material that would be able to craft them. But they didn't. They might still eventually, but currently that doesn't seem to be the case, and likely not to happen. Let's see. Shards should not come from keys. Yeah, the biggest issue against it would most likely be the fact that it's too RNG based. I didn't mean chaos shards. When we said shards, we're referring to crafting shards. There's two shards in this game. There's chaos shards, and there's the shards that are just called shards. I believe that's their proper name. They're just called shards. Whatever those things are called. Do they have a proper name? They have a name somewhere in this game. Hold up 1 second. Yeah, there's two different shards. There's chaos shards and there's normal shards. Where's the name for it? But there's chaos shards. Those are the ones used for delves. That's not the one we're referring to, though. The one we're referring to yeah, the ones that's just called literally shards. That's what I thought his name was. But this was the shards that we were referring to. It's basically the default crafting material, even though it's not really used for much other than crafting right into diamonds. Yeah, there's two different shards. The one called shards and the one called chaos shards. They're two completely different things, though. Shards are used mostly just to create diamonds, and chaos shards are obviously used for portals in Underworld. Well, they probably call them jewel shards underneath the thing, just so it'd be a little bit more obvious what they are. But you do have to keep in mind, there are multiple locations within the game where they sometimes call things differently, either within the files. So sometimes it just comes out in actual text in the game. But yeah, they're called shards or jewel shards, because that's what they're used for. They're just used for various jewels. because the entirety of those resources are called jewels. The diamonds and those 6 color things are called jewels, even though they each specifically have a name, like the blue one being sapphire, the red one being ruby, so on and so forth. Even though they theoretically have a name, the entire collection of them are called jewels, which is why they're called jewel shards, because they're shards that are jewel related. It's kind of like the whole difference with, well, not exactly, but it's kind of like similar to how like split damage is also called scatter damage. It's not exactly the same, but similar in that regard. Hey, 2 diamonds. We were just talking about jewels. Oh, thanks to me, you realize you only have 1 copy of Ketris. Yeah, while most mythics are not worth having 2 copies of, there are a few that are. The main ones, I would say, are Fairish Ra, Ketris the Bull. That list failed quickly. There's not that many. It's a very small list. Let's see, what other mythics are worth having multiple copies of? Technically Possessed King, though I don't think there's any meta team that uses double Possessed King. But all the mythics that are not useless to have multiple copies of are the following. So not sure if you would go out of your way to bother getting multiple of each of these. But just for quick reference, all the mythics that are worth having technically 2 copies of are... There's no mythic worth having 3 or more, except maybe Fairish Ra. That's not what I want. I want base rarity. Where's base rarity? There we go. But the full list of things that are potentially worth having multiple copies of are... Wow, that list is small. Megavore, Ketris the Bull, Fairish Ra, Queen Aurora, and Possessed King. Those 5. Actually, almost all of them show up right on this one page. Yeah, it's Ketris the Bull, Megavore, Fairish Ra, Queen Aurora, and Possessed King. Those are... Oh, and Tina 9000, technically, I guess. Those are pretty much the only 6 mythics or so that are really worth having multiple copies of. And the main ones that are most noteworthy of having multiple copies of are Ketris the Bull and Fairish Ra. Fairish Ra because the soul thing stacks, and Ketris the Bull just because he's ridiculously good damage. Similarly to Ketris the Bull, you can also consider Tina 9000. Tina 9000 does not upskill like Ketris the Bull though. But the main thing that Tina has going for it is this 50% spell reduction thing. It's currently the best 50% spell reduction troop in the game, and it's pretty relevant. So they add another better one. But as it currently stands, it is the best 50% spell reduction troop. Yeah, so basically those 2 are like the biggest 2 to have multiple of. Just 2, for the most part. Yeah, those basically the full list. Megavore, Ketris the Bull, Fairish Ra, Queen Aurora, Possessed King, and Tina 9000. Every other mythic pretty much gains no benefit from having multiple, for the most part. Zugoff. Zugoff is not worth having multiple of. Unless you want to show off to people that you have multiple. That's literally the only reason you get it. It's just to show people that you have more than one. Due to the fact that it would cost so much mana, there really isn't a point in having more than one on the team. You'd be better off just putting another mana generator on your team. Same with Iron Gut. Like, even though Iron Gut has a much lower mana cost, you never need more than one on your team. You're just better off with another mana generator or another support troop. Yes. Possessed King's trait stacks with itself. So 2 Possessed Kings getting an extra turn is 4 explosions. Also, it stacks with hero trait. So 2 Possessed Kings with a hero class that has that 1 explosion every extra turn. There's 5 explosions per extra turn. Also, it stacks with Wrath. So if you have Wrath in first slot, hero in second slot using one of those explosions on extra turn, and 2 Possessed Kings, and you get an extra turn on skulls, you will do 7 explosions on the board. Which is basically a full board clear just from taking an extra turn skull. But yeah, they all stack. Every single explosion trait in the game stacks on extra turn. We'll take that. Also, I never really used Double Possessed King much ever since I got it. I got it a couple weeks ago. I forget how I got it. I honestly completely forget how I got it. I think... Wait, did we have a Darkstone event recently? Or did we have a Daemon event? I think we had a Daemon event of some kind. I think it was last week, actually, wasn't it? I think there was some kind of Daemon event. I just randomly got another Possessed King. Can't remember what it was from, but I did get a second Possessed King recently. Randomly. Out of pure luck. It's not really game-breaking, but it's pretty fun to see. Because you get to see 4 explosions constantly on the board. It's fun to look at, but it's not particularly overpowered. It does make some pretty solid teams, though. It's just not any meta-related teams, I don't think. Just because you're already using up half your team and you need at least 1 mana generator. So it leaves you with only 1 damage source, which is generally not a good idea. While 1 damage source is fine for some battles, like right now we're using 1 damage source, you generally want to avoid it, particularly in the context of PvP. Because if your 1 damage source dies, you lose. Especially in Guild Wars. You lose your damage source, you are just dead at that point. At least for PvP, it doesn't matter as much, even though it still matters, because you can just, you know, restart right back into a new battle without any penalty. For Guild Wars in particular, you always want to make sure you're running at least 2 damage sources, just in case 1 dies. Taking that Skull Distract. Am I still saving Vault Keys? Yes. Why? Because they might be revamping Vault Keys. That doesn't necessarily mean a buff, but it likely will be geared towards a buff. And they're also adding a new gnome. Probably next patch or the patch after. That new gnome is going to be a useless one. It's just going to be Ingot Gnome. However, for completionist purposes, I still want to get it, just so that we have a copy of it. And given that there's so many common ones in the drop table, unless they're revamping the drop table, which they might be, it's going to be pretty hard to go get the new common. It could literally take dozens upon dozens of Vault Keys, which is why we're hoarding them. Currently we're at 50. We've only gotten 1 so far this event. Well, speaking of that, we've only gotten 1 so far this event. That's actually relatively low. But at least we got 1. At least it's not 0. Almost forgot it was even a Vault event. Like, we're seeing a lot of Gnomes, but we're not seeing a lot of Vault Keys. Also, no Glory Gnomes yet, surprisingly. Or if we did, it must have given a low drop because I didn't notice. Actually, we did get 1,000 drop, I do recall. I don't think we've gotten too many of them. Reflect will always do the full amount of damage. If you have Barrier and you reflect damage, let's say they hit you for 100, it'll reflect 50, even if it hits 0 on you. Things like Skull Reflect do the exact same thing. For example, Gloomleaf's 50% Reflect will do the full 50% Reflect, even if you have Barrier on. But yes, Reflect still does the full amount of damage, Reflect, even if it does 0 damage to yourself. Whatever amount of damage it was supposed to do, it will reflect. Even if you take 0. The same thing applies to spell reduction and stuff like that. If you have... I'm pretty sure it does. Actually, I haven't tested it with that. But I know with Barrier it works. Actually, I haven't tested it with spell and skull reduction. I assume it works for spell and skull reduction, though. So, for example, if you have like 50% spell reduction, you get hit by something. I believe it still does the full damage back, even though you're protecting against 50% of it. So theoretically, you'd both take the same amount of damage then. Not 100% sure on that, though, but I know for sure that Barrier will reflect the same full amount of damage. That it does do. It's hard to test anything with Reflect, though, just because we don't have a 100% chance to do it with anything. Yeah, Gloomleaf can theoretically reflect 100% damage while taking 0 damage. If someone hits you with a skull on Gloomleaf while you have barrier, you will take no damage and they will take the full damage of the skull, which is kind of funny. Obviously, there's no realistic way to set that up currently, but that would be what would happen. Essentially, they would take a skull, and that full damage of the skull would just apply to themselves rather than you. Because you'll barrier the damage and you'll double 50% reflect the full damage back. And they do stack. Gloomleaf's 50% does stack with Reflect's 50%. It's 2 separate instances of damage, though. Which is actually technically a good thing. Because that means if they have barrier on them, you'd still do half the damage. Because 150% would take out their barrier and the other 50% would take out the, or would hit them directly. Not that it matters, I have no clue which order that does go in though. I'm not sure if Trait triggers first or if Reflect triggers first. The easiest way to test that would test it with 25% Skull Reflect. And see if the trait triggers, or see if the smaller one triggers first or the bigger one triggers first. I honestly have no clue in that regard. There's still a lot of mechanics, like really specific mechanics with Reflect that we don't know about. Just because it's really hard to test with the current state of the game. There's just no really easy way of putting it on other than Divinia spam. But I will probably test this some once we finally get a faction that brings it in. It's almost guaranteed going to be introduced via faction. And maybe some event troops. Probably initially through faction, with like 3 or 4 of them having Reflect. Also, I really hope something gets both Reflect and Barrier. Which is obviously an insanely good combo to have. It'll probably be on a useless buff troop that ends its turn afterwards, but it'll be a cool mechanic to have. Actually, it might be one of the first buff troops in the game that's not useless if they end up doing that. Because that's a really solid combo. Reflect plus Barrier. I think the easier way to test it, oddly enough, is actually Alchemist Hellcat with Double Divinia, or something similar. And the main reason for that is you can, not necessarily infinite loop Alchemist Hellcat, but it has quite a bit of loop going towards it. Okay, so another kingdom down. Well, we've completed 4 so far, or at least of this session. Still got plenty to go, though. I don't even think if we do this all weekend, we'd get it done. Because it doesn't seem like... We're making a dent on it for sure. But I'm not sure we'll be able to go all the way, because we still have, what I believe is around 28 kingdoms or so. The 28 kingdoms, that comes out to, I think we're getting about 3 done per hour, approximately, if we were just to focus on it the entire time. Like, fully, I think it's about 3 per hour. So, with 28 left, that is, what, 9 hours? Or about 9 hours, give or take, 9-10 hours. I guess we could kind of get that done this weekend, then. That's actually not that much when you put it that way. Huh. What do we take? We'll go for that. Yeah, I'm not sure how I always manage to do this, but I keep not getting sleeps on Thursday nights. I'm not sure why. It seems like clockwork now. Even while I was on the trip, I didn't get much sleep on Friday night. Or, I mean, on Thursday night going into Friday. It seems like something about that day where I just never get sleep. Or I don't sleep as well, for whatever reason. That was the Delph question, my bad. What was it? Was asked by you or someone else? Do you remember the Divinia Iron Gut team? The team only works if the kingdom does not have, or the faction does not have Immune to Devour. Because the team I used did not have anything to deal with Immune, because there was no room for it. I forget the exact team off the top of my head. It was Mountain Crusher, Divinia, Iron Gut, and one other troop. I forget what the other troop was. What would the other troop have been? Did I use Divine Ishbala with it? I don't think I did. I forget now off the top of my head. Hello, DJ Ram. Yeah, I mostly just ran it for Stone Song Airy, and the reason I ran it for Stone Song Airy is there's so many paths going to the end that you can pretty much theoretically almost 100% of the time not run into a single Devourer immunity room because you have multiple paths and you just choose the one that doesn't have immune. I was saying switch it back to the other thing. I think the 4th time now we're accidentally used the team again, or you know, the explore team for the stronger battles. That's weird. He didn't take skull. I'll take it then. Oh yeah, did they ever fix Vash Dogon? I know they made mention that they were gonna like fix it, but then they never did, or did they? I haven't actually used them much recently, or like at all. Did they finally give him Curse and Dispel? I mean, Dispel. Because I know originally he didn't have it. Made him weaker than Black Beast. I think they finally fixed it, but I haven't been using him lately to know. Why do you like to max your hero classes? There are multiple reasons for it. One is we need them for kingdom upgrades. We literally just upgraded the kingdom by getting this thing leveled because I forgot to do it earlier. Or not forgot, I just didn't get around to it. But they're used for kingdom upgrades. That's probably the biggest reason. And the other one is just for full-blown completion of the game. Technically requires having level 100 of every hero class. But it's mostly for the kingdom stars. Kingdom stars starting around level 13 start to require kingdom or heroes being leveled to some degree. By 17, I think you need like 70. And by level 20, you need level 100 hero class. Of course, no level 20 kingdoms currently exist, but they will within the next year, most likely. I think the highest star we have right now is 17 star? I don't think we have an 18 star yet. But they're getting there. How do I have 59 armor on my Rowan? Because of all these stats. We have 3 from Delves, 8 from Guilds, and 28 from Kingdoms. That's where all of it's coming from. Thought there might have been one from Team Synergy too, but apparently there is not. But the Delves only account for 3 armor. So it wouldn't have made that difference. But it might have covered some. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I want to go do, that's one of the reasons I want to do Warren's as well. Warren's has an extra stat buff basically on it. because it's going to count for about 1,500 more points if we get it, which more often than not is going to be a whole extra stat. Not always, but pretty often it would be. No, the stream connection just kind of died. Come back, stream! Oh, actually, technically it's running right now. It's just running a little slower. Did he craft Iron Gut? Yes. The answer to that is always yes. Even if it's your first craft, it's probably still yes as well. It's not as good of a first craft, but if you want to do factions to any capacity, it's not necessarily required, but it's basically required. Like, it's not required for factions, but it's so good that it's theoretically required for factions. Of course, there are other options like Mang and stuff, but it's the best stealth option in the entire game. It's not even close. Like, Zugof's like the next closest. That's absurdly hard to get. It's not even as good as Iron Gut. At least in that context. Do I think they should introduce more ways to earn jewels to craft mythics? Yeah, it would be kind of decent to see more ways to do it. Because right now we only have 2, for the most part. There's like a few other locations where they kind of like ever so trickle in. But it's mostly just dungeons and guild. The only other things that can ever give you like a little bit more is you get a small trickle through some of like the events like raids, evasion, stuff like that. Off of some of the packs or just off of certain points within the progression. And the other one is Gnome events. While not really that much, you do gain approximately an average of 8 diamonds per vault key because of the 50 diamond drops that are throughout it, and the 2 to 5 diamond drops. Actually, it's probably even closer to 10 diamonds per vault key. It's probably somewhere around 10 diamonds per vault key on average, and like 5 diamonds per hour during Gnome events, not counting vault keys. The overall counting vault keys is probably around like almost 10 per hour. Because vault keys about once every hour and a half. But that's a really slow way of doing it. But there are multiple drops for it. Dual Gnome has 20 diamonds. Normal Gnome has 2 and 5 diamonds, pretty commonly. And Cedric has 50 diamonds, who's only in vault keys. There aren't really too many methods for it. Yeah, the biggest issue with mythic progression with the resources in the game is mythics come in at a quicker rate than resources if you don't have every single mythic. Like, you do gain more resources than the rate of mythics, but if you're already missing a lot of mythics, it seems like it'll take forever to end up getting them. Because it will take forever to end up getting them. Like, if you were to start a brand new account right now, it would take around 2 to 3 years to get every mythic. Okay, what's the next one? Problem is these Drake riders here. Luckily, we don't need to go too far into this. This has always been a really big issue with Darkstone. Doing like anything within the kingdom. This troop with its 100% summon. Really annoying. Oh, they would never reduce the cost of mythics. That would never happen. It's also unlikely that they would even increase diamond rate either. But it's way more likely that they would increase diamond rate than decrease the rate of... It'd be more likely that they add more ways to get diamonds than it would them reducing the price of mythics. Because mythics are probably always going to maintain that price forever. And if they were ever to tweak it, they would just make diamonds slightly more available within the game. That's how they've almost tweaked almost everything in the game. They generally don't change how much something costs, they just change the rate at which you accumulate the resource. Yeah, some people like just getting everything within the game. I know I'm that way with most games, including this one. Gotta get all the things. It's for the most part possible to do that in Gems of War now. There are technically some weapons that if you didn't get them ages back are technically money locked, even though they were at one point available for free through in-game resources. And there's still a slight issue in getting some of the old pets. It seems like they're going to be fixing that issue some soon with like the occasional weekend pet events whenever we don't have an event week. However, I don't think that's going to fully fix the issue that pets have. The easiest thing that would fix the issue with pets have is every single week either have one random pet based on a random color, or one per color, or in the Soul Forge. Or have it so there are pets in the Soul Forge based on whatever the kingdom currently is. So for example, right now it's Blighted Land, so have Blighted Lands pets in the Soul Forge. So that would fix the pet problem. But yeah, we still have a slight weapon problem and a pet problem as far as 100% completion is concerned. Any idea when Iron Gut is available on Switch? Well, it's about a year or so behind. And Iron Gut was added in December of last year, when it was supposed to be added in January of the following year. So that means by around December or January, Switch should probably have Iron Gut. When, I do not know. But sometime around that area of December or January, which will probably get it. So they seem to be going slightly out of order as far as events and stuff. Really weird how it is. What are my thoughts on VIP levels? They're kind of something extra for people that spend money. Like, none of their rewards are like really mandatory. The only two rewards that are like somewhat decent is free scouting at 3 and VIP keys at 5. However, I personally haven't used a VIP key since they added ingots into the game, because there's no ingots in them, so gem keys just tend to be better. And at least before you get all of them anyways. And before you have all the ingots in the game, or everything maxed weapon-wise. And other than that, free scouting, which is pretty useful because you just get to see the enemy's team automatically. It's not really that mandatory, but it's still a nice option to have. And neither are too much. VIP 3 for scouting is $40, which you would get automatically if you just get Death Knight, because that's $50. and the VIP keys are $130. It's a little bit more pricey, but not too bad if you're planning on playing the game long term. So again, I haven't opened a single VIP key for like a year and a half now. In the current state of the game, they're actually not needed as much compared to how they used to be. I'm surprised they haven't buffed them since then. There were suggestions to get it buffed, which was kind of weird that they didn't end up buffing it. I guess they just didn't want it to be pay to win in that regard. But you kind of think that something like a gem sink like that, they would want to buff, so that people would actually just sink more gems into it. But I forget what the reasoning was, but they actually did not buff Vault keys. I mean, not Vault keys. They didn't buff VIP keys for whatever reason, despite gem keys becoming better than them. You still theoretically have a better rate of getting mythics off of VIP keys by about twice the rate relative to the amount of gems you spend. But the overall value of your loot is actually slightly better from gem keys. The only time you ever go for VIP keys is if you desperately just want the mythic and nothing else. Like, you don't care what any of your drops are, you just care if you get the mythic. Would you open VIP keys if you were missing 20 mythics? Well, you should only ever do them in 50 bulks. Otherwise, you might as well be doing gem keys 100% of the time for sure. But aside from that, gem keys would still be better. Unless, prior to having every single ultra rare in the game in mythic, gem keys will be better. So unless you have literally every ultra rare in the game mythicked, you should be opening gem keys. And even then, you might still be opening gem keys. Because unless you can 50 bulk open VIP keys, it is better to do gem keys. Because opening gem keys 50 at a time is better than opening VIP keys 10 at a time. Due to the gem saving for opening multiple. It doesn't change the drop rate, but it changes the amount of gems you spend on them. And to open, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but to be able to open 50 VIP keys at once, it costs 2,225 gems. Or sorry, 2,250 gems, I mean. Which is one of the reasons why 50 bulks of gem keys tend to be better. Because not a lot of people have 2,250 gems on reserve. Even if they do, they might not have, you know, the ability to actually do that and still have gems for other stuff. It's definitely not a small amount of gems. The biggest benefit of VIP keys, though, is that there's a 1% chance per key that you get a mythic. And you can get VIP keys by other means. We haven't gotten it since it's been uniform for everyone. But adventure boards do have a task. It can give 2 VIP keys. I've gotten it twice so far, as you can see by the fact that we have 4 VIP keys. It's actually the best task in the entire game. Having a low ball gem estimate of 180 gems and a at base value estimate of 200 gems. Because it's 10 gem keys and 2 VIP keys. Gem keys being 9 or 10 gems each, and VIP keys being 45 or 50 gems each, depending on how bulky you buy them in. But it comes out to a low ball of 180 gems for the task. Makes it the highest gem value task in the entire game. And I've only gotten it twice. Some people might have gotten it a bit less, some people might have gotten it more. But now everyone will get it uniformly. So if we end up seeing it again at some point, everyone in the entire game will get it. No, I'm not going to open them. I have done key openings in the past on streams. I've probably wasted around 30,000 gems on streams before. Between VIP chest key openings randomly and glory and gem keys and event keys and stuff like that, just randomly out of nowhere. Because there used to be such a ridiculously surplus of gems in the game that I would just do that just for fun. Obviously nowadays you kind of have to be a little bit more careful with them because there's so many things to put gems towards. But back in the day there wasn't as many things to put gems towards. Yeah, the texting is always so weird. The text glitch that keeps happening every single time we go through that screen. Does that happen for anyone else? I assume it does. But is that actually happening to anyone else when you're like spamming challenges? You just get like a weird text on that screen. I noticed it on Switch, so I assume it happens on like all platforms. It didn't happen because of that. It happened just on random loading screens occasionally. But it happens like an excessively high amount when spamming challenges. Or at least when I spam challenges. What's your feelings on the Gray King next month? It seems like it's going to be pretty bad. And the main reason I say that is because the AI will probably not use it correctly. And it's only really going to be used for Guild War Defend. So it really comes down to, will the AI use it correctly? It's going to be a ridiculously good Guild War Defend troop. But we don't know if the AI will use it correctly. So even though it could, in theory, be like one of the best Guild War Defend troops in the entire game, it really comes down to, will the AI actually use it in a way that's supposed to use it? And if it doesn't, then it's going to be useless. And if it does, then it's going to be ridiculously overpowered. It really comes down to that. But I have pretty good faith that the AI will not use it correctly. It'd be pretty easy for them to code it to work correctly. Just literally add up how many colors the enemy has, and whichever color is the most common, just have the AI target that color, regardless. Or if there's two that are the same, like let's say 2 blues and 2 greens, you just, you know, random it 50-50. What does he do? He basically disables all troops of a certain color while also doing an absurd amount of damage to them. Or maybe not absurd, but a really substantial amount. I believe it's like silence, stun, and something else. And mana drain or something. He basically completely disables any troops of a certain color. So if we did it on purple, it would do like a really high amount of damage to them and silence them and a bunch of other stuff. Okay, let me go to his ability real quick. But yeah, he destroys all gems of a chosen color. All enemies of that color take magic +3 damage, which is actually a pretty small amount of damage, actually. And the mana, and then it drains their mana, silences them, and freezes them. Okay, so no stun, but has freeze. But yeah, it's a silence, a mana drain, and a freeze. And the damage is relatively average. It's only going to be like a 30-something or so. Nothing too high. Ooh, Volkey. Nice. Second Volkey. Very nice. Alright, we're not doing too bad on Volkeys then. Could be better, but we're at 2 hours with 2 Volkeys. 1 per hour I am fine with. If we can keep that rate up, I am perfectly fine with that. There are 10 challenge levels, 7 per set. So there are 70 challenges per kingdom. 10 sets of 7. Streamer luck. Oh yeah, how are you guys doing on Vault Key so far? Pretty sure there's still some people at 0 since it's so early in the week. Anyone hit like 5+ yet? Hello, Bushka, welcome. You completed 2 quest lines and you only got 1 gnome, ouch. I forgot how many battles a quest line is, but it's like 60, somewhere around 60 or so. 50 or 60, somewhere around there. No longer do the quest lines actually show how many quests there are though anymore. Kind of weird. Not really weird, but you used to be able to see it before, but now you can't. Oh, you just hit your first. Congrats, nice. Wow, 4 keys, very nice. Did you get really lucky, or have you just been farming for several hours already? Even though I just woke up not too long ago, this event has technically been going on for 9 hours now. Well, I don't pay too much attention to it, but you can keep track of how many vault keys you started with, and then whatever you gain is, or you know, whatever the difference is how many you gained. So we know we started with 49. So if I go over to my keys, whatever the difference is between 49 or 59, I mean, is how many we end up getting. So we know we got 2 vault keys so far, based on it being 61. Yeah, anything at 1 hour, anything that is more or at or more than 1 per hour is above drop rate. From my understanding, the average is about 1 per 90 minutes. Somewhere around there. So 1 per hour is actually pretty decent. Might actually die, which wouldn't really matter too much, but still. Hello, Nick. If we ascend all the gnomes to Mythic, are we not going to get them as rewards in the vault anymore? I don't believe that is the case. Though that would be cool if it was. But I don't believe that's how they work. For seal keys, they do. For vault keys, I'm pretty sure they don't work that way. So there are ways in the future that they're going to be increasing the rate of gnomes. One of the reasons I'm saving the vault keys. So that we can go upgrade all the vault events. Also, there's a good chance that the vault kingdom will be a kingdom eventually. The typing of vault. There's even a vault pet that's coming out eventually in the spoilers. When, we have no clue, but eventually. So they're definitely planning a vault kingdom. It's something they specifically mentioned as well during some Q&As. I don't think they mentioned it much this most recent Q&A, but they have mentioned it before. That they're planning on making a vault kingdom. And they also mentioned the most recent Q&A that they're planning on buffing vaults keys, or at least making the gnomes a lot more common that you get from it. Not necessarily in the frequency of them, but in the amount that you get. Because right now, obviously, you only get 1 each time, which is really pitiful. Yeah, there's also a vault banner in the game files. There is even a week where there was when team codes were first implemented into the game. There was a way to go check the banner for it. It was kind of funny. Like the banner was actually in the game. It wasn't usable, but like it was visually, you could visually see it if you typed in the right code for it. It's not possible anymore though. It shows nothing. Yeah, the banner is like yellow blue or something. Like a +2 yellow, +1 blue, or +2 yellow, or a +2 blue, +1 yellow, one or the other. I believe it's the inverse of whatever the current existing one is. Because there's currently a yellow-blue banner. Whatever that banner is, I believe it's the inverse with some kind of minus color. That Thief destroys the whole board. With enough gold, yes. Her amount of destroys is based on it's based on magic. It's based on half her magic +1, as well as your current gold at a 3-to-1 ratio. So we're getting 68 from that, off of having Cedric for the extra gold. So that alone is enough to clear the board. Plus it also does the extra one based on magic. You have two different ways of raising it, though it's generally raised by getting a really high gold amount. Though it could theoretically also be raised by getting a really high magic amount. But as long as she gets at least 64, that will clear the entire board. And that's better than the explosion, because unlike explosions, destroys get 100% of the mana, whereas explosions only get half the mana. So she can clear the entire board and get the full mana for the entire board. She's actually one of the strongest troops in the entire game. The only big issue with her, she's really gold dependent, so there's only very few combinations that she can be ran with. But obviously on gold teams, she's absurdly good. It's just she's not too usable outside of it, even though she's one of the best troops in the game. If there were more viable gold teams, she'd be like the top 5 troop in the game. Quite a bit lower though, just because there's not as many teams to use her for. Like one of the only few. But she works really insanely good for it. She actually is one of the highest mana generating troops in the game. The only things that technically generate more than her are things like Truffle, like things that can infinite loop a little bit better, or loop just in general. Because she can't really loop, she doesn't have any board control or anything like that. The only thing that can help her to loop is if there's a storm active. It makes it slightly more likely that she'll cascade into it. She doesn't have any like direct loop compared to some other generators. How many Vault Keys now? 2 of them. So we probably got one while you were gone. We hand out a code on the other one. We'll hand out another code if we end up getting another Vault Key. It'll be our 3rd Vault Key. Speaking of kingdoms, those troops from the next faction look okay. A lot better than the bunch. Oh yeah, the most recent faction was pretty bad. But hopefully next faction will have the better ones, as you mentioned. I didn't actually take a look at them yet. It's still a little bit too far out before then, because they're probably going to tweak a couple of them before they do. Same as the Mythic that's coming out. The Mythic is almost guaranteed going to be tweaked within the next week or 2. Hopefully for the better, because it does seem like it's going to be a little bit underwhelming. Like, on paper, it's going to be ridiculously broken. But in practice, it's going to be near useless. Ironically. Just because AI will not use it correctly. And it's like the only instance you ever really realistically use it. Unless you're fighting a team that has 4 of the same color. But that is very rare to fight a team that is using 4 of the same color. Offensively, that is, not defensively. Defensively, you get it every single Guild Wars quite commonly. Obviously, because everyone's running it for each day. So you can only use it for one Guild War defense. Otherwise, you get penalized. Your first Gnome of the day is a Vault Key. Very nice. We had that happen once. One of the events, when the Jewel Gnome ended up being released, we ended up opening around 30 Vault Keys for a video in order to try to get the Gnome, and we didn't end up getting it. Then as soon as we started the morning stream, the very, very first Gnome we got dropped the Jewel Gnome as the troop copy that we needed. It was pretty funny. We got exactly what we needed immediately. Endless loading screen. What team do you have with the new mythic? The Aquaticus? We covered it the other day. The main one I was using with it was the pure blue team for Guild Wars. I feel like that's going to be like its most applicable usage is Guild War days, all three of the Guild War days. Mostly as a utility troop, but it can also be ran pretty solidly on Blue Guild War. But just using it as a utility in general could be nice. Like plopping it into any team where you just need to use it as a counter to AoE troops, anything that hits all enemies, because it gets to submerge on every extra turn. It basically means perpetual submerge for your entire team, for the most part. Please drop a Vault Key, you know you want to. Give it to us. What do we get? 2 diamonds. I almost thought that was a gem key again. You got me with a fake gem key. But it's 2 diamonds. Luckily it has the icon thingy in the background now, so it's easy to tell which one it actually is. You just had the best Tower of Doom floor ever. You had the Heroism, Luck, Fireball, all of the same floor. Oh, very nice. That is definitely very solid. Let's see, is it even possible to get a better floor than that? Because I don't think you can get multiple of any of those on a single floor. So it'd be Heroism, Luck. What's the third best scroll in the game? Heroism and Luck, definitely the best two. I guess Fireball would be the third. I think of like maybe a better third. Power could theoretically be considered good, but it has diminishing returns. Probably not as good. Yeah, I guess Fireball would be the third. It's kind of like a haste scroll, except you get to use it later rather than immediate. So you can get it from an earlier floor and then use it on a harder floor. Whereas a haste scroll is technically the same thing, or not a haste, but yeah, haste scroll. It's kind of the same thing, except it's used immediately. And you actually have to do the room. Or regardless, you have to do a room. Because to get the Fireball scroll, you have to go do a room, get the Fireball. And then you can use it on a later room. But yeah, haste is basically the same thing as a Fireball, except the Fireball you can use at a later room, whereas the haste is used immediately. It obviously makes the Fireball a bit better because you can delay it towards later rooms where they're going to be much harder and more time consuming. You just get it from an earlier room that was much quicker to complete and easier to complete. Yeah, haste can have multiple. I've seen as many as 3 haste on the same floor. 3 haste with a unlock. I don't think anything other than haste can repeat. Well, haste and the upgrade scrolls, as far as like the higher rarity ones, like all the rare and below scrolls can repeat, but any of the higher rarity ones cannot. And things like the heroism, the fireball, and stuff like that are higher rarity. And the reason why haste repeats is because it's a rare scroll, or you know, it's a category of rare, so it's allowed to be. There's allowed to be multiple of it on a floor because of that. Same reason why you can see like 2+1 magics on a floor or some similar stuff to that. The lower rarity ones can repeat, but the higher rarity ones cannot on a floor. Why did I keep clicking on here? I don't need anything there. Did we end up finishing this? Yes. Okay. Next thing, I get to go to Groshnock. Oh no. Maybe not. Groshnock's gonna be really annoying with that revive trip. Let's go to Cinemirage. We'll avoid that for now. Might be one of the really last ones we do. It's just gonna be too annoying. Well, at the battle that you do the fireball on has a chance for Valraven. However, the room you use fireball for does not have a Valraven. But you still have one battle occurring. Oh yeah, so I guess... yeah, you're kind of right in that regard. I never thought about it like that. If you don't care about the difficulty of rooms, or the amount of time, Haste is technically better than Fireball. Because both the room you initially do and the extra sigil counts towards Valraven chance. Whereas for Fireball, only the initial battle counts for Valraven chance. Whereas the Fireball hit has a 0% chance to ever be Valraven. Never thought about it like that. So Haste is technically better than Fireball if you don't care about time and if you don't care about difficulty. Though more often than not, you do care about both. But if your main goal was just to get as far as humanly possible, Haste is actually better than Fireball then. Interesting. Yeah, that actually is correct. Though generally, to the average person, Fireball would still be better though. Especially if you were just doing the minimum of getting up to 25 completion. Also, that assumes you can consistently win without ever losing. Which is also not a thing, because you will occasionally lose to like Bone Dragons and other annoying skill spam, or just due to really bad luck. Because once you get far enough in Tower of Doom, I believe they do have enough damage to just one-shot you with skulls. Which if you don't have barrier up for it, will obviously kill. Hence the one-shots. Come on, Volkey. Let's see our third. That is not a Volkey. Once you get to reason floor 25, once you complete out room or floor 25, which means you've got to floor 26, there is technically no point in going any further. The only exception to that is if your guild somehow has not completed all the tasks, or if your guild is going for leaderboard. But if your guild is not going for leaderboard and you've already completed all the tasks, there is no point in going beyond 26 to 25's completion. Anything further than that's a waste of time. Otherwise, yeah, the high-level Spirit Fox room is the hardest room in all of Tower of Doom. Like the level 30, the floor 30, 35 battles are easier than the Spirit Fox room at the mid-20s. If you have a heroism, you should always use it on the Spirit Fox room around the mid-20s. It is easily the hardest room in all of Tower of Doom, at least in the current state of the game, because the Spirit Fox in almost every situation will have enough damage to one-shot you, meaning it's a 3 versus 4 battle. Plus, if you don't HP buff or barrier up before it casts again, it will one-shot you again. And it has Empowered, so it gets to first turn it as well. And it has Stealthy, so you can't even drain it, because there's currently no Empower AoE mana drain. There's Empower mana drains, but because it has Stealthy and all of them are targeted, you can't actually target it specifically. Huh. That would be one way to make Dust Devil more annoying. Could you imagine if Dust Devil had like a 3 mana drain on top of it? Or to go with its damage, a 5 mana drain? Since it has 5 damage, just to synergize with it. Kind of make it like a mana burn kind of thing. But, well, not actually mana burn, but you know, the concept of it. But, that'd be kind of funny. Though they should never do that. That'd be so ridiculously annoying. But the troop's already annoying enough. What's one step further? Every delve that has a tier 1 room is probably the most annoying delves in the entire game, just because of Dust Devil. It's possible to repair from that battle and just wait it out. The problem is you have to wait it out. And it takes like anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes longer than it should. And it wastes a lot of time. You better not escape. He's thinking about it for a second there. Come on, Volkey. Oh, good thing he didn't escape. Gosh. He had a Volkey. 3 Volkeys. Go give out a code. I did say when we get the 3rd Volkey. This will be the last one of this stream, though. This specific Volkey. I mean, this specific redeem code. Though, me accidentally saying that's probably correct, too. It's probably the last Volkey of the stream, too. Realistically, unless we get lucky. But let's go use this code. Make sure it works, because this is a new batch, so it might not work. Always like to check them. First. Yep, looks like it works. That right over there. Almost just pasted the same code again. Fail. And there you guys go. That should be the link. There you guys go. Here's the redeem code. Use it on gemsofwar.com with the game code section. Your invite code can be found in your settings menu. Whatever your game says right over there. Game code's right over there in chat. Copy paste random numbers and letters. And give same reward as always. 2 treasure maps, 1 gem key, 200 souls, and 2,500 gold. Enjoy, everyone. And it's usable on every platform except for the console versions. And there we go. And for anyone who says Switch never gets any kind of anything, at least you guys are getting Puzzle Quest. The HD remake for Puzzle Quest coming out in 6 days as Switch exclusive. Though the other 2 consoles unfortunately have nothing. You don't have codes nor Puzzle Quest. Actually, that's not true. I think the original Puzzle Quest might actually be on those platforms. Particularly Xbox. I'm not 100% certain on that. Pretty sure someone mentioned that earlier when we were doing the Puzzle Quest stream. That was available on Xbox. Oh, what am I doing? Not that. Go back to Bladelands. Or Cinemirage, I mean. Yep, no problem, everyone. I wish codes worked on all platforms. But they don't. That's probably not changing anytime soon, unless they can get cross-platform for them all. It's also likely not coming anytime remotely soon, if ever. Also, I'm still surprised all my computer equipment's still holding up after all this time. I've had this laptop for 6 years now, and for pretty much the entirety of that 6 years, I've been using the same mouse, the same webcam, the same mic, the same everything. Some of it was a little bit more recent, like this mic was a few years ago, the webcam's a few years ago. The keyboard I think was 4 years ago. But this mouse I've had since I've had this computer for 6 years, and it's held up the entire time. I'm not sure if it's made anymore. I really should have gotten another one while I was at the flea market one time. It was actually cheaper than online. I got the original one online. I saw it at a flea market for like 10 bucks cheaper at one point, while I was still doing flea marketing at the time. It was only like a $40 mouse too. It was like $30 at the flea market. I forget what its full name is. It's called like a Death Ad or something from Razer. I think it was one of the first makes of it or something. Might be why it's better. Let's see. I feel like the quality of everything used to be better in the past. But, if I actually find it real quick. I should probably get another one before it does break, just to have a backup. There it is. How much is it these days? Well, there's a image of it. Where is a page to spy such item? There it is. Yeah, they're only about 40 bucks. Best mouse I've ever used. Probably better mice out there, but for the price, it's really solid. And it's lasted 6 years. Which I can't say about their headsets. The headset broke in like less than a year. One of the ones I got from it. I completely forget what it's called. It was like nearly 100 bucks and broke down in a year. I know. I'm kind of surprised my laptop still works too. Though the laptop I had from 2006, or was it 2007, lasted until I went to college, which meant 18. So that meant, well, how long ago would that have been? That would have been 7 years ago. 7 years ago was what year? That was 2012. So yeah, this computer has outlived my previous laptop. Because that other one lasted about 5.5 years then. 5.5, 6 years. And this one's already over 6 years. I do really need to get a new one soon. I just honestly have no clue what I want to get. And it is going to be a laptop, not a computer, most likely. And money's probably not going to be a limit. I might just get, like, the absolute best thing I can possibly find. I just want to make sure it's still reasonable, though. Like, I'm not going to pay money just to pay money. Like, if I'm paying money for something I actually wanted to, you know, be, like, really, really solid and last for, like, a decade. The only problem is there's always so many more emerging technologies. Like every few years. Which is why I never put in like that much into a laptop. My first one I think was around 500. This one was towards 1,000. Mainly because I used it as my college laptop at the time. Yeah, the only thing that's like really broken with this laptop is the keyboard is beyond repair. It just doesn't work. I just use a separate USB keyboard. And the battery in it no longer works. So if electricity was to go out, my laptop would be dead within a minute. But other than that, this computer has essentially no problems. Oh, also the USB 2 ports on the right side broke for whatever reason. So luckily the USB 3 ports on the left side work. So all you have to do is just use an adapter for multi-ports and it works perfectly fine. It's not really that big a deal. Those ports are relatively cheap. They're like 10, 20 bucks for pretty decent ones. The Navy used Toshiba laptops. That was actually my first laptop, Toshiba. And right now I just use an MSI laptop. Also, I heard most military equipment like that actually uses a lot of gold-plated stuff for everything. Just because it has slightly less delay. Yeah, we'll take that. Grab another clear. Let's see you, Starlight. Have a good night. Catch you later. And one more set of 7. Questions, do let me know. Up, as the stream dies. Come back, stream! We're back. They do let me know if anyone still has any other questions. Anything you want me to go over? Because I think we'll do this one and then one more Kingdoms thing and then probably end it there for now. Hopefully we'll get one more Volkey in that time. Though we already got 3. So we're at like 1 per hour average. I'm probably going to be doing this for most rest of the weekend, for the most part, because we get 3 things done simultaneously. Challenges, farming the Gnome event, and getting class XP. So making decent progress on multiple things at once. Yeah, I know, if you're going to do challenges, I'm probably going to make a little video on it later today or something, just to bring it to everyone's attention for whoever might not like bother looking at the stream. But it is highly, highly advised to go do challenges right now, this weekend. This is the first Gnome event since challenges have existed in the current state that they do. And if you were to ever bother doing them, this is the most efficient time to do them in, because you'll get a bunch of loot while doing them. So great time to go do it. And if you feel like the later ones are too tough, just do it up to tier 5, the completion of tier 5. So to the end, or you know, all the way to 6 basically, the end of tier 5. Because anything further than that starts to slow down a bit. Actually, not too much, but anything like 7, 8, or 9 starts slowing down a bit. Particularly 9 and 10 are substantially slower, which you'd want to avoid, obviously. You can just do those when it's not the event. A Gnome event, that is. But during the Gnome event, highly, highly advised to get every single one to the completion of tier 5. Hey, he's got your first Vault Key for the weekend. Nice. Yeah, I think my aim is just to get about a 10 to a dozen or so. That's normally the aim of any Vault event, ideally. To get around that many. I'll be happy just hitting double digits like normal. It is still advised to do now if you don't have teams that boost gold and souls. Your gold and soul bonus has no effect on the loot that you gain from these anymore. It doesn't matter what your bonus is, it will not affect it. Even if you have a task that gives you souls, it will not increase your souls by having soul units. And it will not increase your gold by having gold bonuses. Neither of those do anything now to current challenges. That was one of the other reasons why I said to get all the challenges done prior to, or all the soul challenges done in the previous format. Because we knew it would give more souls in the previous format compared to how much they give now. Mostly because of the bonus difference. But also because it just gives more, even without the bonuses. Just because there's more battles before compared to now. Yeah, I currently have 71, right? I believe it was 71. Was it 61 or 71? Or sorry, 72. We're either at 72 or 62 keys. I believe we're at 72. How many Vault keys we currently have. Okay, now I completely forget. Which one was it? I'll go check after this battle. It's gonna bother me now. Oh, okay, you just started recently. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, at that level range, you should still hopefully be able to do them. If you have Sunbird or Owain, you could definitely get through the first 2. Not sure if you'd have a strong enough team to quickly get through the up to 5, though. You just started recently. What am I looking for? Oh yeah, how many Vault Keys do I have? Oh, never mind, sorry, 62, not 72. I wish we had 72. We're at 62 right now. Oh, we just finished that, right? Yes. No. Yes. Numbers, how they work. Okay, let's go do Shentang then, and then we'll end it there. Go finish out Shentang. Actually, since I'm covering it for a video, I guess I'll do it up to tier 4, just so I could show tier 5 for the video. We'll go up to tier 4 for now. Please give us our 4th Vault Key of the stream. You know you want to. Vault Key? No, useless gold. Particularly that small amount. You're using Summer's Fury, Elwyn, Serpent, and Dark Monolith. Oh yeah, Elwyn is the new early game troop for just auto winning. It is insanely, insanely good early game option. It's actually the best Kingdom Epic in the game for early game. 7 additional damage per yellow destroyed with a plus shape. That is a lot of damage in early game. Mid game it can even slightly work too. But for things like challenges and explore, it's perfectly fine. For similar things like that. For the lower level ranges of them. It's not as much damage as Rowain, but early game Rowain compared to early game Elwyn, early game Elwyn's is better. Hello, Thossipol. Oh no, why are you here? Most people are here for Gems of War, which is a match 3 game on every platform. Also, the Puzzle Quest HD remake is coming this Thursday. That might be a game that you might have heard of. Because Gems of War doesn't have that much name recognition. What's kind of funny is even though no one really like plays actively, obviously, Puzzle Quest has more of a name recognition than Gems of War, oddly enough. Let's see. Go throw that down. Hey, was there a mail from? Or was that from the challenges? Or was that for something else? Oh no, that was from the challenges. I didn't even realize that they're showing a mail message every single time. That was the first one I noticed. Wow. Fail. Okay, let's just go clear through 2 more sets now. Are raids color restricted? No. Raids are restricted based on kingdom. Invasions are restricted based on type. Delves are restricted based on 2 colors, so you can use any hero weapon. Tower of Doom is restricted based on 1 color, so you can use any hero weapon. And Guild Wars have technically no restriction. However, to get the maximum amount of score, you'd want to use the color of the day for all 4 of your troops. And that includes your weapon. Your weapon cannot be a different color, otherwise you do get penalized for it. But yeah, Raids does not have color restriction at all, based on Kingdom. And the specific kingdom that it's associated to is whichever one the event kingdom is. So for example, let's see. Actually, what is next week's raids? Next week is raid, right? Wait, what is next week's event? Yeah, it's raids. Convert green gems to Doomskull. That's a pretty interesting raid troop. Yeah, next raid event is Zoom, which means, or next week's event is Zoom, which means raid's restriction is Zoom. That's gonna be interesting. We can use Skull Spam then. Also, one thing I will mention, though I'm pretty sure most people are just gonna save it for when a delve comes out. But one thing you could theoretically do with all your useless brown scrolls is throw it into Zoom Kingdom for the team bonus. Of every single kingdom that you can currently use brown for, as far as their team bonus, Zoom technically has the best, or Skea, depending on how you look at it. But given that Zoom has an event next week, you might want to get Zoom to level 13. I believe it's possible. I think there's enough scrolls in the game that you can get to 13, if I'm not mistaken. But you might want to do that if you haven't. You do get some bonus stats for doing so, which will help out with that event if you wanted to. There's currently nothing else to use brown for, and the next 2 delves are not brown. So it might be a good idea to put into next week's raids event if you struggle with raids events in general. Or if you just want to go a bit further with it than normal. Or if you just want it to be easier in general or quicker. It's not that much stats, but they still add up, given that your team would have to be 3 times, 4 times Zoom anyways in order to run it for the event. What else we need here? Let's take that for now. Don't really have too many ticks that are going to be worth it here. Take our red, get our destroy. Where's our final mana? There's none. Isn't Glaceon Droxzoom? Yes. You'd be able to use Glaceon, you'd be able to use Bloodhammer, you'd be able to use that one Goblin that has pretty good board clear. Because it has a slight board clear with freeze into a automatic extra turn. I wish they gave it 3 explosions instead of 2, but it's still pretty solid though. Goblin Rock is normally better though, in most situations. However, it's still a decent troop nonetheless. Goblin Rocket's overall value is better, but obviously you can't use Goblin Rocket. You'd have to use the other thing, the Ice Goblin. But yeah, you have a few good options to use. Not that many though. It's mostly just those 3 if I'm not mistaken. Just Glaceon, Bloodhammer, and the new Ray Troop, your hero, and the Ice Goblin. Those are about your only options you have for the event. There's technically other stuff in the kingdom, but that's about the only really viable ones. The only other thing that you might use from the kingdom, the one green purple that summons a what does it summon? Actually, forget now. I believe it summons the summons that one brown yellow dwarf thing, undead dwarf, I believe. Maybe one other one, but definitely that undead dwarf, which is pretty useless. But you're just using it for meat shield's purposes. If you were to use it, I wouldn't really advise it. It's probably not needed. Glaceon Bloodhammer alone into Raid Troop is probably going to be all you really need with hero weapon, like Mountain Crusher or Jar of Eyes or something. Actually, you can build just pretty much a normal standard Skull Spam team then. You can build, but then again, that might not be enough damage when you move later on. I guess you could put the Raid Troop in first thought. I forget what color it was, but you can use Raid Troop, Glaceon, Jar of Eyes, and Bloodhammer. That way you'd have a summon, you'd have a Brown Storm, and yeah, you're allowed to use that entire team. And I don't think it's restricting it too much. Let's see, what color was it? The Raid Troop color is, 1 second. Where'd it go? The Raid Troop color is blue-brown. Oh! Glaceon gets to feed blue into it. It is going to block the brown, however you're exploding brown. But you'll have Blue Storm active because of Jar of Eyes. And you'll have Glaceon creating blue, which will feed right into your Raid Troop. It's actually going to be a pretty easy raids then. The only real big issue is your skulls backfiring. Because you're going to have 3 things that create skulls. Also, he converts green to Doom Skulls. So even he has Doom Skull spam. So that could also be backfire slightly, because in order for him to cast, he has to convert. And that convert could be bad set up on a given board, depending on what the board is currently set up as. So you might not necessarily be able to use it exactly when you want to kill a Raid Troop. More often than not, it's probably going to be beneficial. Yeah, Bloodhammer is probably risky because of the storm. It'd be high risk, high reward. It would help speed things up, but it could make you lose. Ooh. This seems pretty interesting, though. The Raid Troop even seems somewhat okay outside of the event. It's a skull. It's kind of like Mirage Queen, except instead of curse, it gets to do some damage. And has different coloration. Slightly different coloration. Not too bad. Not like an insanely good troop outside of raids, obviously, but it's definitely more usable than some of the other out-of-rage troops. I'm glad that they're starting to make them slightly more useful outside of the game mode. If nothing else, you can use as a Zugoff counter. Yeah, does anyone else have any other questions or anything you want me to go over real quick? Otherwise, I think I'm going to be wrapping up in a battle or two. So just let me know. Otherwise, I'm grabbing lunch. And we'll be back later today in about 7 hours from now, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be continuing where we're at. Yeah, we're also doing some Tower of Doom. I'll be doing some Tower of Doom and challenge farming gnomes. I think almost all the gnome farming I'll be doing this weekend are almost all going to be from challenges. Yeah, we're still live. Well, not for longer, though. We're about to end out. So if anyone still has any other questions, let me know. Mang, Ray, Troop, Glaceon. Yes, you can just run Mang into Skull Spam as well. That would work. Mang into Glaceon into Ray, Troop into one other option. Would be perfectly fine. Actually, I forgot. You wouldn't have to put the Raid Troop in first slot. Duh, it's raids. It's not invasions. So you can actually put Glaceon in first. Yeah, Mang would be pretty nice instead of Bloodhammer, actually. And go Mang Titan. Oh, that's gonna use a lot of the same color, though. But Mang Titan, Glaceon. It's almost pure brown team at that point. But Mang Titan, Glaceon, Raid Troop, and one other option. And that would be your team. That's probably what I'd most likely use, actually. For the earlier battles, I probably wouldn't, because obviously Mang earlier on isn't as effective. But for the later battles, that seems like probably the way to go. When is the next code? We already handed out 2 codes. And unfortunately, I can't really give out too much more. We'll have another one tonight, though. Probably handed out on first Vault Key tonight, or just after Tower of Doom, whichever one comes first. But then again, since Tower of Doom probably has no gnomes, or it doesn't have any gnomes, it'll just hand it out after Tower of Doom or something tonight. Did I show challenges to last reward? Yes, last rewards are just shards. We end up going through a couple of the kingdoms, all of the challenges. I think we completed out 2 or 3 kingdoms 100%. But it's nothing too good. It's just pure shards. Both 8 and 10, I believe, are shards. 10 gives more shards than 8. However, it's still shards. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. We did, during the beta, try to get them to do deeds. 1 of each color and then Imperial for the final one. Or, you know, 1 of each color as in whatever the kingdom's color is. All 7 of them are the color and then an Imperial. But they didn't do it. Instead, they just went with shards. Which is really unfortunate. Because there was double shards and we tried to get them to switch it, one of them to not shards. But we couldn't. They just did double shards for whatever reason. Hello, Adele! Yeah, does anyone else have any other questions? Otherwise, I guess we'll be wrapping up for now. We'll be back, as I mentioned, in about 7 hours from now, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll mainly be going and grinding out more gnomes. Definitely a great time to do so if you have some free time this weekend. Highly, highly advised to be farming out gnomes in Explore or in challenges. The new challenges are really good to go and farm up with this Vault event. Because you're going to want to do them eventually anyway, so you might as well get additional loot while doing so. So, yeah, pretty good time if you haven't been doing any of the challenges yet. Now's a good time to consider doing them. Because, yeah, you'll be able to get gnomes simultaneously. Particularly the first few floors of it, or the first levels of it. Tier 1, 2, and 3 are ridiculously quick, though 4 and 5 are still decently speedy as well. What's your question, GJ Ram? Did you post it? Or did you already post it and I accidentally overlooked it? If anyone still has any other questions, let me know real quick. Just repost it. What team did you use for the last challenge? I used Truffle team for the last few. It was Forest Troll, Double Gob Truffle, with Warden set to Dispel and Greenstorm. So you can also do it with Titan. Oh, sorry. It was with Titan. Never mind. It was with Titan, not with Warden. And the reason for Titan is because of the 1 extra explosion, but more so than anything, is it gives 1 additional magic to all elementals per extra turn. And this is really important because they have really high stats. In order for the battle to go a little bit quicker, you use Titan with it. Or anything that has that elemental thingy on it, but Titan just happens to be the best for it currently. That might change into the future, but as it currently stands, Titan's the best for it. But you specifically want to use Titan, not Warden. Titan's actually about 15 seconds quicker per battle, which adds up since there's like 7 battles towards the end there per set. What is the best delve to farm a few thousand souls daily? The soul amount is about the same for every single delve. Though, I guess the ones that have the better loot would still be the better overall. And those 2 are either Silver Necropolis or City of Thieves, with City of Thieves being the absolute best delve in the entire game from a loot perspective. They don't really give more souls more so than another. Like, every single delve has a relatively similar amount of soul gain. It really just comes down to multiplier, and those 2 just have the best multipliers and the most amount of treasure rooms. So it'd just be the two places you would just farm in general for everything. Because they're the best for everything in the entire game as far as delves. But the only exception being arcanes, which technically Warrens does better. So it just keeps giving you the same arcane over and over again, so it's not like you need to spam it too much. But yeah, City of Thieves and Silver Necropolis are the best two, by far. Oh yeah, no problem, coach. Oh, no problem. Let's see. Oh yeah, I have had several people like asking me about the guild. It's been a bit overwhelming as far as which one to choose. But yeah, we still need a lot of people for the guild. So I'm probably going to group up with some kind of guild to some capacity. Because filling up 18 more slots is really annoying. To say the least. Because it's hard to get people into a guild that isn't full. Like, if we were 25 right now, it'd be so easy to get 5. But it's so hard to get 5, like, with 12, because you have 12. But anyways, guys, I'll catch all of you later. Oh, wait, sorry. What was the level to go to? Oh, you should be going to the end of 5. So basically all the way to 6. And the reason for the end of 5 is it gives 7 gem keys and 3 event keys, which is the highest loot of any of the challenges. Actually, the loot from challenge 5 alone is more loot than all 9 other challenges combined. That is how good loot is. So that's generally the point where you want to do it. It's also still quick enough that it's similar speed to explore. It's slightly slower, but still similarly enough that, like you saw, we got 3 vault keys, which is like right on the drop rate thing, or even slightly above. So we're still keeping up like the same rate of vault keys for the most part, in the same rate of gnomes. It's still slightly slower than explore, but it's still pretty close. One question before you leave. Top 5 classes. You have level 100 Titan, Sentinel, and Plague Lord. Well, those are definitely some of the better 3. The next one you'd probably want to go for is Thief. Thief is the best stealthy hero class in the game. And other than that, you'd probably want to go for a blue-related hero class. There's quite a few that are good in that regard. The main 2 are either the Merlantis one or the... actually, no, I lied. If you're just going for best 5, those 3 you have are good. Then you want to go for Thief and then Frost Mage. Frost Mage you probably want to pick up because of Guild War Defense. It's the best freezing hero class, and it's a really annoying Guild War Defend option. Also, it's getting a delve soon, so it might have some more team synergy soon too. Next delve is, or sorry, 2 delves from now. Not next delve, but the following delve in like a month and a half from now is going to be Glacial related, or Glacial Peaks related, which is where that hero class is from. Yeah, I would say do Thief next, and then do Frost Mage. And then hopefully I'll have Frost Mage maxed by about a month and a half from now when a new delve comes out related to the kingdom. But you mainly use Frost Mage for Guild War Defense. Thief is used as the best stealthy option in the game. It's also the best option to use with Skeleton Key. The reason you don't see me using it with Skeleton Keys is because I'm trying to level other hero classes. But if you're trying to make the team as strong as possible, you do it with Thief. What was your message? Have I made a video on up-to-date delve teams? No. Generally, I cover them whenever they come out. I have not made, like, up-to-date ones that go over every single ones. I've been meaning to, and I will be into the future. But, yeah, I just haven't yet. Yeah, I cover them whenever they come out. I just haven't, like, recovered them. Like, for example, I've never, like, recovered All-Seeing Eye from, like, ages ago, or Hall of Guardians. The Hall of Guardians is the exact same as Stone Song. So I was just assuming that would eventually happen. This hasn't happened yet for All-Seeing Eye, but the Stone Song teams I went over for Stone Song using color-wise would most likely work for the other one. There's very, very few instances where the same coloration wouldn't work for one than compared to the other, unless there's some kind of really specific mechanic that they have. For example, like Submerge on like Sea of Sorrows, making it so you can't really run AoEs and stuff like that. But anyways, guys, did I miss any other questions? I believe that was everything. But anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and best of luck grinding the Vault events and opening them if you're opening them. So I'm personally saving them in case they buff them in next patch, as well as just saving them for when the new Gnome comes out, just to be able to easily get it, even if they're not buffing it. Still want it for that purpose, just so we can get full completion immediately again. But anyways, guys, have a wonderful time. I'll catch you later, and thanks for stopping by. Goodbye, everyone.